And it's not more than a tenth. This has been the famous sentence with the lousy pennies I did here 2 years ago. So this is to answer the question of Yossi. The traditional publisher will be in the traditional media, but on the new media, it is on community, it is on experts, and there are so many people who have now the chance to expose themselves without traditional media.
I think a lot of what you said is absolutely right, and the next big challenge for those of us in the journalism field is to better adapt to social media as we move, I think, and Eric, I think, is going to be here later tomorrow, right? He may disagree, as we move increasingly from search to social. So how to better integrate all of what we do into that world. And I'll just give one small factoid. A New York Times article is tweeted every 4 seconds, which is a pretty powerful thought. But we are going to increasingly do more of that. Now, you mentioned digital advertising, and said it's 10% roughly. Ours is higher than that at the New York Times and growing dramatically. And as many of you in this room know, we are moving in some period of time, sometime this quarter, to a new model that will basically be a metered model for the web. So we are going to be building a circulation, if you will, a readership revenue base as well as advertising. But one of the joys, at least of where I sit at the Times, is that 80% of our major print advertisers, the top 50 advertisers, 80% of them now are in digital as well, directly, through us. So we have control of the relationship with our readers and control of the relationship with our advertisers, and that's a critical element of our success.
So how do you see news when it has become a commodity?
Say again?
News, I mean, it's called newspaper.
Has news become a commodity? To a certain degree, news has been a commodity since radio, really since the telegraph. There was a wonderful vignette of a New York publisher writing in his own paper, and I think it was the Herald, that he had just witnessed the death of newspapers. He said literature would survive, but newspapers were bound to fail. He had just met the telegraph. It was the 1850s. Right? Radio was going to kill newspapers. In fact, we were chatting backstage. A New York Times story I'm embarrassed to report said that radio was going to mean that no one was ever going to learn how to read again. Wrong. So there are increasingly methods of communicating that are very powerful, that are integrated, and that's great. And that's critical. But based on what knowledge? Based on what quality information? How do you know what to trust? And that's where I think journalism plays a central role. Because we all know in this room that among the fastest thing to go viral are lies. Why? Because lies can be outrageous. The truth is often interesting, but rarely outrageous. So lies go faster than truth. That's why we need quality news and information, regardless of how it's distributed. Because if you want to know what's happening in the war in Iraq, it probably makes sense to listen to people who are there. So, you know, and that can lead us to WikiLeaks, if we'd like. Wikipedia is wonderful too. Different game. But how we filter, maybe that's the right word, how we filter in an honest, thoughtful way the morass of information we're besieged with now, that's critical.
You have another question, or can we just open it for a couple of minutes to the public? Mukesh, what do you think about the future of newspaper? The intellectual head of Google, who is with us.
Give a minute.
You agree?
I agree with him. It's not about the method of distribution.
Business? Business?
There we go. Now we can hear it. Yes. It's not about the distribution problem, it's about the creation of my content. Right? No, I agree with you. It is about how content is created, not how it is distributed. Because the web is just a mechanism for people to consume content, whether it's audio content, video content, or printed content. I'm actually very amused by the fact that you were just now negating a lot of pre-signed predictions of people about radio was going to get people not to read. Yet you sat there and made a prediction about social was going to give, search was going to give away social. So I'll be interested to see that.
Exactly. Well, I'm prepared for my prediction to be totally wrong.
Good. So am I.
We have one of the best publishers I know in Germany, one of the most successful, my friend DLD.
My statement would be very short, and I would like to quote Mark Twain. A newspaper in New York had opened the news that he had died, and Mark Twain famously answered, "Well, news about my funeral are highly exaggerated." So we all know Mark Twain did decease one day, but it's a long, long time. Here in Germany, we are still quite optimistic for local newspapers, and of course we are trying to get the digital content also in digital age. But one question, Mr. Sulzberger, what is your opinion to the paid content model via iPad?
What's my opinion on the paid content model? Well, I think one of the joys of the era we are in is the ability it gives all of us to try things, to learn, to test, to adapt. A couple of years ago, we did a paid version for a part of our content. We called it Time Select. It was editorial op-ed writers, the Tom Friedmans and Nick Kristoffs and whatnot. And it was successful, but it didn't have the great growth potential that we think it needed. So we adapted, changed it, and now we're going to be introducing a metered model. What does a metered model mean? It means that it will not be a hard and fast wall. That search will enable you to come into the site. But you will be able to come into the site for a certain number of page views every month. That number has not yet been made public. It means that you will, at a certain level, be asked to pay either on a monthly basis or some other, not only on the web, but also on your mobile devices. And it's going to give a lot of ability, I think, to test, learn, and adapt. But what we have found in the app world, which is a world I think we all feel we're moving to, not entirely, sir, is that people are showing a willingness to pay for something that they feel is important. Sometimes that's a game, and sometimes that is a way of knowing what your restaurant reviews are, and sometimes that is quality journalism. And we believe that enough people will pay, but that we will not cut ourselves off from the rest, because quite frankly, to cut yourself off from Google access is just crazy. We want to be part of the digital ecosystem, and that's critical to us.
Yeah, question from the public.
So as not to personalize this too much, take the top 5 printed newspapers.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
Joe Schoendorf with Axel Partners. So I don't want this to be a personal question, but just take the top 5 printed newspapers. How far in the future do you think it is before economically they decide that doing a printed version, meaning newspaper, is no longer viable?
I have learned not to give that kind of a prediction, somewhat painfully, and I'm not going to do it now. Let me just say this. we had a theory, a rule at the Times, that if you subscribe to the New York Times in print for 2 years or more, we've pretty much got you for life. That number was 650,000 a decade ago. It's now 800,000. 2 years or more loyalists has grown in the last 5-7 years. So, I think print is going to be around a lot longer than most people do. But the point is, wherever people want us, we must be there. And that's our commitment, to be there on the devices, including paper. Is paper a device? No. Devices and paper for as long as people want.
Shondorf, I have a similar question. How long it will be before the last VC stands? And who will be the last one to stand?
I hope as long as they're great entrepreneurs, there will be a few VCs left to make it go, you'll see. Based on what I see here, there are a lot of great entrepreneurs, so thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Hubert Burda.
You want me to conclude?
Yeah? This was a...
As I told you, I see these two markets. I'm very comfortable with magazines as long as they are not general interest magazines, as long as they are targeted to news, to special content. I believe very much in lifestyle, fashion, food, because people like to blätter, in a magazine. Das heißt blättern. Paging. And they like this interface, colorful paper. They like it. They like to sit down. So, how long does this work? Well, quite a long time. But take all the profits you make and invest it in new business. Because the magazine markets, especially here, is mature. There are fair chances outside, as I mentioned. But then it is so creative to take the opportunity, as we both, Colin and me, that's why he's now the CEO, because I think he's better than me in finding new opportunities. It's another generation, you must be in this generation, and the next generation is 18 and 20. And they are grown up with these devices. They use it. I'm probably the eldest Facebook user in the German upper class. But I like it. But look at my kids, how they are working or communicating with Facebook. So take the money and invest it in new things, and the models are probably more in e-commerce than in advertising. But there is one big question. If I look through all these market capitalization of Google and Facebook right now and Apple, there is an incredible market still ahead of us. $300 billion. This is TV advertising instead. If you think TV advertising, you have a wonderful monopoly still. But what happens when the search engine comes through content directly to your advertising monopoly? And they will do it, of course, because this is a $300 billion market. The other one is already good. It's about 20 billions. Facebook is now 2 billion, and the other one is 100 times bigger. So that's where you will be attacked, and RTL, and of course, ZDF will never be attacked. They have a subscription, sure, forever. But this is what everybody is looking. What happened to display advertising? And when display advertising comes, maybe we get better pricing on the online.
Thank you, Mr. Sulzberger. Your last famous words.
My last famous words. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be part of this group. But secondly, it was almost 15 years ago to this day that NewYorkTimes.com was launched. 15 years ago. And we are incredibly proud of how we have grown and learned and adapted. And the one thing we know to our core is that we must speed up that process of adaptation. We must always keep journalism, quality journalism, central to what we do. That's our mission. But we've got to integrate ourselves better and more deeply in the communities around us. We know that. We're committed to that. And I look forward to being here in the future to talk about how we've done it.
All the news which fits the print. What will be the tagline in 10 years? Ladies and gentlemen, Hubert Burda, Arthur Sulzberger, thank you very much. Hubert, don't go away. Hubert.
Du gibst Kohlmann, du gibst Weichselbraunig hier und in Jetzt kommt der Jodler. Hollerei, ho, hollerei, ho, hollerei, hollerei, ho. Und die Göre, kommt schwarz werden.
Mr. Hartmann, you are a forest master, right? You make trees. For me. Okay. Here is one guy who believes in paper. Thank you very much. All of us are amazed by the design. I would like to present to you the guy who made the design of this.